Perry Nickelston, also known as Dr. Perry, is a chiropractic physician with a primary focus on performance enhancement, corrective exercise, and metabolic fitness nutrition. He's an expert in myofascial, orthopedic, and trigger point soft tissue therapy. Certified and trained as a functional movement specialist and selective functional movement assessment specialist, he uses programs designed to find your source of painful dysfunction and corrects it till the site of pain improves. With over 25 years of experience in the health industry, Dr. Perry has dedicated himself to teaching others how to get in shape and lead a healthy lifestyle. He is currently publishing several books on health, fitness, laser therapy, business success, and self-treatment programs. He is additionally a regular columnist for Dynamic Chiropractic, Chiropractic Economics, PT on the Net, Live Strong Strength Coach, and many other publications within the health and fitness industry. All right. Hi, Dr. Perry. Thanks for being here today.
Hi. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you here. We were talking just before this, but for all the viewers out there, I first met you, came to one of your courses last year at CanFit, and you were teaching on what happens in vagus, but the pronunciation or the actual spelling of the vagus nerve, which I thought was a really clever title.
Thank you.
And it was, all about the vagus nerve and the lymphatic system. And that's how I first learned what it is that you do. And so you are known as the lymph doctor. So I thought we could maybe just start out and you could kind of explain to our audience, what is the lymph system, the lymphatic system, and why was that something that you decided to specialize in?
Great question. Great question. Yeah. Well, I kind of fell into the lymphatic system, honestly, by accident via my own pain and suffering, really. So I should tell people first what the lymphatic system is. It's part of your immune system and your cardiovascular system. So it's sort of maybe a little important. And those two systems will have a huge influence on your nervous system, right? One of the things that I say when I teach all the time is that no system in your body ever works alone, never gets injured alone, never heals alone. So when you're trying to do anything with the musculoskeletal system or the nervous system, even with working with the core, you have to take into consideration all the other systems, because a thing I say is you're only as strong and resilient as your weakest and most vulnerable system. It might not be the one that you're having the symptoms of. And that's really important for people to understand, because we know that everything interconnects with each other. And the lymphatics is something that I never really looked at over the course of my career, because I started out in this profession of healthcare as a chiropractor. So I was musculoskeletal based, muscles, fascia, joints, movement, even the brain and nervous system, things like that. But it's only after I got sick with an autoimmune disease where my body just decided to turn on itself and my life was upended, and I had to stop teaching and stop practicing, because all of my traditional approaches that were supposed to help me feel better were not working. So I was missing something. I was actually getting worse, even after all my years of studying all these other systems. And so it forced me to look at the body in a different way. And so, because I knew that if I was on the right track, I'd be feeling better. And I wasn't. And then I just came across the lymphatic work from someone who said, I think that's the issue. And I honestly said, lymph what? Like, I didn't even think about it. But once they did an assessment on me and a treatment on me, I felt profoundly better in just 2 days.
Wow.
And I said, there's got to be something to this thing. And it turns out the reason it helped me so much is because the lymphatic system is the primary system of your body that cleans your body. It's like the sewage system, detoxification system of your body. And it's supposed to take things out of your body that your body doesn't want anymore. Okay, so that's like bacteria, viruses, toxins, parasites, cancer, fungus, things like that. But also your own body that dies every day, because you have literally, trillions of cells in your body, and you got billions of them that die a day. And when they die, you're supposed to make new ones, right? That's what regeneration is. And but the ones that die, they create toxic cellular metabolic waste, and they need to get out. And the lymphatic system is a huge player in that. And I thought to myself, you know what? I'm training and I'm exercising and everything, but when you do all of those things, you're actually destroying tissue. You're breaking down tissue to rebuild tissue to make you stronger and more resilient. Yeah. So you want to break down tissue so you can become stronger. That's what stress and adaptation is. But I was like, well, what happens if I'm breaking all these things down when I'm trying to be healthy, but I can't get rid of those things? I'm actually going to make myself physiologically and mentally worse. And that's what was happening. So I started to dedicate myself to looking at the lymphatic system and treating the lymphatic system. But also, I really have taken these last years to see how they all interconnect with each other. And that whenever you're doing anything to any system, when you're working with the diaphragm, you're working with the pelvic floor, you're working with anything, that you're always working with every system. And nobody was ever talking about the lymphatic system in relationship to anything. Like if you talk about the pelvic floor, most people will never say anything about your lymph nodes and the pelvic floor and your lumbar spine, which are massively represented there. And in relationship to your diaphragm. The only time you'd ever hear anything about lymphatic system is if somebody had cancer, because we know that the lymphatic system actually kills cancer every day, but it can spread through the lymphatic system as well. So they call that metastasis. And I thought to myself, that's very powerful, because if you can have cancer spread to any part of your body through a system, that system's probably important to look at.
Yeah.
Right. And then that brought me to where I am today, of seeing how, wow, it was like the missing component, honestly, of what I was looking for to help all the other things that I've been doing up to this point work even better. And so most people, this system is, it's overloaded most of the time. It's what we call obstructed or stagnant, because there's so many toxins coming at the body from outside, from inside, and it just can't keep up anymore. I mean, people say, how does it get backed up? I'm like, well, congratulations, you're alive. That's how it gets backed up. And you have to intentionally take care of it like you do your teeth. Otherwise, it's going to degenerate. And two things, here's the interesting thing. Two things move this lymph system the most. And most of the people watching this show already do it, but they're doing it by accident. They don't know that they're working the lymph when they're doing it. It's human movement. So the more you move of yourself, the more you're going to move fluid, right? But also breathing, and particularly diaphragmatic breathing, which I know you talk a lot about, because that's part of your intra-abdominal pressure, your core cylinder. And so you need to breathe that. But a lot of people in this world don't move a lot, and a lot of people don't breathe through the diaphragm. But here's what happens is people tell me all the time, I already do those things, doc. So shouldn't my lymphatic system be okay? And the operative word is should. What happens is it's so overloaded and so obstructed that those things are not enough anymore. You have to physically go in there and then help remove these obstructions. And then you do those things, and then you'll have a much different reaction to your body from movement and from breathing.
Dr. Perry, looking at the articles and the resources that I've personally reviewed on the lymphatic system, there seems to be a bit of back and forth with the amount of pressure to apply in order to affect the lymph. And back in March, my Chinese healer that I meet from time to time had mentioned that, especially during cold and flu season, or relating to COVID, that keeping the lymphatic system moving was really important. So what are your thoughts on the depth and the pressure and how you should be affecting that system?
It's a little mixture of that. It's a little bit of both. So, because you've got different layers of lymphatics. You've got superficial endpoint lymphatics, and they're mostly right at the skin level, right? And then they're going to go into deeper lymph channels, deeper lymph nodes. So they sit around primary joints of the body, mostly in the shoulders, the top of the spine, right behind, right where the skull attaches to the neck, the cervical spine, in your hips, behind your knees, and in your abdomen. So they're deep. So you can do superficial work and it will help, but in order to get the optimal results, you got to go way deeper. So you start superficial first, just to see how the body reacts to it. And it's kind of like training. I tell people, if you're new to training, you're not going to go in and do a Murph workout and, for 3 hours and make yourself throw up just because you can, because more isn't better. Better is better. So you have to tiptoe in, because if you train like that, you're going to make yourself worse. You're going to hurt yourself. And it's the same thing with the lymphatics. So you start easy and you move that superficial lymph. But then when you go deeper and you learn how to move the lymph that's closer to the spine or in the joints, that's the most critical one. And when you combine both, then you get really, really great results. So and what's great about lymph is that, it's represented in all types of cultures and disciplines. It's huge in Ayurvedic medicine, in Eastern medicine. It's a big part of their chi when they talk about chi. It's also represented highly in osteopathic medicine in the Western world. And now it's coming more to the forefront in the last several years because they're seeing the role that lymphatics play in brain health. And that it's a substantial player in how well your brain functions. And if your brain doesn't function well, you're not going to have much of any kind of core stuff hold for long, because it's just a miscommunication type signal. But that's why the stuff that you're talking about and you're doing with your series, which I really like, is that you're helping people control this inner cylinder pressure, and then that pressure moves fluid throughout the whole body. So central core work goes from everything from your fingertip to your pinky toe. It's massive, the importance. I'm trying to reframe people for this, because all the work that we're doing, we're affecting all of these systems, but nobody has ever brought the lymphatic to the forefront of something that you're influencing. And when you know that, you'll really never look at the body the same way again, which is what learning is about, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So with the core in mind, do you want to maybe educate everyone on how the lymphatic system and the work that you do affects that? I know we've kind of talked about it with the breathing, and so are there, maybe some other pointers that you want to talk about the deep core system and the lymph?
Yeah. So, most of the lymphatics, it's a massive system. You've got these thing called lymph nodes. Most people may have heard of a lymph node. And basically it's where all that fluid comes in, and then your immune system sends a lot of things out to attack anything in your body that's not supposed to be there. Its job is to kill things, basically. That's what it is. And you have clusters of nodes. You got about 600 or 700 of them in your body, which is quite a lot. And like I said before, they're centered around areas of your body that are supposed to move a lot. So hence the top of the neck. I'll review again: top of the neck, bottom of the neck, the shoulders, the abdomen, the groin, crease of the groin, and the back of the knee. But those are areas that a lot of people have tightness and restriction in, and they don't move a lot because they probably sit too much, right? And then your posture, so all that tight tissue, you lose that flow. And the three places you have most of your lymph are: one, in the neck. So of the 700 lymph nodes you have in your body, 1/3 of that number is from your collarbone up. So think about that. That's a lot, right? And then when you study the core, you understand that the lymph around the neck and the brain won't drain well if your core and your abdomen is off on pressure. So then you've got it with the skin. So a lot is with the skin. So that's why when you brush your skin, you move a lot of lymph. But by far, the most of it resides in your abdomen, in your gut, particularly around your small intestines. And that makes sense, because we know that the lymph is part of your immune system. And 80% of your immune system, 70 to 80%, depending on the resources that you look at, of your immune system strength is in your gut. So it makes sense that Mother Nature would put a system there that will attack anything that breaks through the gut. gut lining. Because anything you stick in your mouth is foreign to your body, and then it goes in that mouth and it has to go out the other end, right? So it's got that one-way shift, and the intestines is where a lot of those toxins leak out into the body, and the lymph is the first to come in there. And then here's why that's important, because if you have a lot of that inflammation and stagnation in that, if you have stagnation in the lymph, you get backflow, and then you start to get inflammation around the abdomen, inflammation around the organs. And there's different reflexes that happen in the body, from the viscera to the muscle, and even the viscera to the skin, where inflammation in your abdominal and your organs will actually neurologically inhibit and downregulate and neurologically weaken all of your core muscles. So if you don't take care of the inflammation in the abdominal region, your brain is not going to let you optimally fire a muscle that is inhibited, because it knows you're going to hurt yourself. So it down regulates. Even though you feel things engaging, it doesn't mean you're changing anything. And that's the key. So the largest lymph node in the body sits 2 to 3 inches above your navel. And that takes all of the lymph from your organs and from your pelvic floor, from your glutes, from your legs, from your feet, and your lower back. All the way, that's the gathering station, like a big giant balloon. And that's where it gets stuck the most. And then you get back pressure down in the lower part of the abdomen. And when you get back pressure, because the lymphatics hook directly in with the vascular system, you get poor venous return, poor blood flow back towards the heart, and then you also get poor oxygen and nutrient delivery to tissue. So you actually end up with a lot of symptoms, pain, discomfort, muscle inhibition, and stuff like that from your rib cage down, because it can't flow. Because it's supposed to go from that balloon all along your spine to the left side of your neck and then back to your heart. So all of that fluid in your pelvic floor goes back to your neck, right at the collarbone. And it gets massively tight there. And because we know we have different systems sitting behind that cisterna chyli, it's called, the largest lymph node in the body, you've got your abdominal aorta that has all of the blood that's got to go to everything down there, and then all that's going out. And then you've got next to that your vena cava that's taking all of the waste and stuff back up towards the heart that way and to the liver. Then if you get nerves there too, so you have a lot of plexus of nerves, 3 huge circular plexus of nerves that sit there. One's called the celiac plexus, and you got 2 more. The names really don't mean anything. You just need to know that they sit deep. And when you have inflammation in there, you can irritate those nerves. And when nerves get irritated, they're like anything else. They don't want to move a lot. And then in order to protect you, what happens is they restrict motion. So you get tight and stiff, and then you eventually can get pain. So I experience people who have trouble engaging the core, activating the glutes, anything like that, is because they have the inability to have efficient fluid flow to and from the muscles that they're working with. So with my system, you do both. You do all of the core type work and movement work and breathing work, but you move the lymphatics first. So it's important for you to understand that, when you know this better than anybody, and people that have been watching your stuff, that when you breathe through the diaphragm increases pressure, drops, and pushes on the pelvic floor, and then they should move up and down like a cylinder piston, right? That's held tightly from the top and from the bottom, from the front, from the back, like a 360 barrel. That pressure is supposed to pump the lymph. It pumps the lymph. If the lymph is backed up and you have inflammation, or you don't breathe from your diaphragm, or you have an issue with the pelvic floor, or any issues in the front or the back, you lose your pump. And then you get more backflow of liquid into that, or the lymph into that particular region. So for me, what that's been hugely beneficial for my work is that I tell everyone, with my approach, you always release the lymph first, then you breathe. Because if it's so obstructed and backed up, breathing from the diaphragm is no longer enough. Right? And then because it's stuck in the middle, you lose that pressure system mechanism. Mm-hmm. And it's also important for people to remember that you've got that abdominal pressure, but that has to work with your thoracic pressure, your neck pressure, and your cranial pressure. You have these different pressure zones in the body. And if either one of those pressure zones are off, it can cause the other areas to have an issue. And that's why the vagus nerve is important, because the vagus nerve goes to all of the organs and the abdominal region. So when you breathe through your diaphragm, you're moving organs. And when you move organs, you stimulate the vagus nerve. And when you stimulate the vagus nerve, that's when you can get into that healing response that we need. So there's a lot of action happening into that region, right? So I just want people to realize that if you're going to work with your transverse abdominis or your obliques or your multifidi in the back, that you want to make sure that the stuff that supplies those muscles works well. And that's blood flow and lymph flow. Critical. And you mix the two together, it's a powerhouse. So we have a term that says drainage precedes supply. Drainage precedes supplies means we want to supply the body with the nutrients and the movement and the oxygen and all that stuff that it needs. But you have to drain toxins first, drain inflammation first, then you do it. So if you flip those around and you just do a little bit of stuff before, then it's massive. And I'll be happy to show people it's really simple. Just knowing where to press. That's all.
Yeah, do you have some techniques that you want to share about that drainage and what people can do before they start breathing and before they start exercising to get some of that fluid moving through that, mainly that sort of core area, that at least the abdomen?
Yeah, I'd be really happy to. I mean, it's a very simple program that, I mean, literally takes you maybe 30 seconds to a minute to do. And it seems so simple that people always tell me, said, that's it. You build this thing up and that's all I got to do? I'm like, yeah, because it's just knowing the order that you need to do it in. And that's the key. So once you know where these areas are, and then I'm going to walk you guys through it so you can touch these areas, because anytime you touch them and you stimulate them, you move pressure. You're going to open up lymph nodes. And then you can, I'll show you the final one where you're just going to stimulate in the abdominal region a little bit too. And then when you realize where that cisterna chyli sits, then you can honestly use anything to go in there and put pressure, from a foam roll to a vibration ball to a medicine ball to whatever. The tools really don't matter in my work as long as you know where you're putting the tools. That's the most important thing. So in my work with the lymphatics, lymphatics are fluid, okay? And they work on what's called hydrodynamics. It's a term from physics that means one simple thing. When you're talking about fluid, high pressure moves to low pressure. So anytime there's high pressure of fluid, it automatically will flow to a low pressure. Easiest way you can visualize that is an analogy of a water dam, where you have a lot of water on one side, no water on the other. All the pressure's on one side, no pressure on the other. If I lift open the dam, where does the water go? It naturally goes that way. So the important thing for people to remember is the lowest pressure in your body in relationship to blood flow and lymph flow is at the bottom of the neck, right at the collarbone. That's the lowest pressure from your veins and your lymph. So everything wants to go to the bottom of your neck at the collarbone, right? The lowest pressure is there. The highest pressure is at two ends, the feet and the top of the head. So feet, into the fingers, and top of the head. So everything implodes in towards here. So in order to do that, all of that stuff in your feet, all that stuff in your hands, all that stuff in your head have to clear these joints first, big joints, right? So that's why we work the major joints of the body just by pressing in there or rubbing and slapping. That's stuff from Eastern medicine and Qigong that's been around for a couple of thousand years. It's very simple. So I'll walk you guys through it. So you're going to have your collarbone on either side. Doesn't matter which side you start on. I'm just going to have you take your fingers so you'll actually press and rub in these regions. So let's start on the collarbone on the left-hand side. So find your collarbone, and I want you to find the space above that collarbone, right? Space, so if you're going to go right in the middle of the collarbone, above it right there, and then rub as your fingers point down towards the floor. So you're pushing there and you're pressing down towards the floor, and rub there just for about 5 seconds. And then you can also,
you're kind of hooking in.
Yeah, just like right in there, and then you point your fingers towards the floor, right? Or towards your chair. So you want to go above and then press down, right? Because that's where it's going to head to. And then you can take your fingers and just lightly tap that region 10 times, right? And then people always say how hard. Just don't hurt yourself. Otherwise, I don't care how you do it, all right? Then you're going to go to the right side, and then you're going to go above the collarbone on the right, and you press your fingers in there and rub back and forth, and press your fingers down towards the floor, towards your seat, or towards your butt. And you do that for about 3 to 5 seconds, and then you tap that 10 times, okay? 5 to 10 times, anywhere in that ballpark. Then you're going to go back to the left, and I want you to go, if you go all the way at the top of your neck, you're going to go behind your jaw, and then you feel you're below the lobe of your ear, and you should feel this big, huge, hard bump bone. That's your skull. And you feel that little space right behind your jaw at the top of your neck. That's the largest lymph node in your body, and that's in your neck, and that's also where the vagus nerve drops out of your head, right? So I want you to rub right there. Right? Same thing, like that, about 4 to 5 seconds like this way. And then tapping in there can sometimes be a little bit uncomfortable. So I just have people do strokes straight down the side of the neck. So you stroke all the way down the neck. So from the top, stroke all the way down 10 times, right? That's going to start to drain all that lymph in your head, your neck, your jaw, things like that. Then go to the other side, rub at the top for 4 to 5 seconds. That one you can go a little deep onto. And then stay at the top, and then pull down the side of your neck all the way towards that collarbone 10 times. Right? And it doesn't have to be really, really light. That's the difference between my work and a lot of lymph work. I don't do super light work. I'm not saying you can't. And then, so we've already got number 1 at the neck. We got at the collarbone. We got 2 at the neck. Now the third one's going to be right at what we call the pectoral muscle. So right where the shoulder is in the front, right where the shoulder joins the pec. So you'll feel where the shoulder is round and then it's not round anymore, right as it goes in the pec. I want you to rub right there, pressing in, and then you do your 10 taps all across the front of the pec and the shoulder right there, right? And you use your whole hand. Now you're going to open up the nodes that drain the arms, okay? And then do the other side. So put your fingers in there and press in. That's where people get that, if they know anatomy, the tight pec minor, right? And then tap 10 times. Then I'm going to stand up. You're going to go to the abdomen. So now, if you're not able to stand up, you can do it seated. I want you to put one hand on your belly button and then one hand above, like this way, right? So it's here. And in this region, you can just do your taps 10 times. So what I do is I just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? And if I'll go back later and show you how you rub this region because it's going to be a directed thing that you do. Then you're going to go to the groin. So you got the crease of the groin. Then all you're going to do around the groin is you can do the same thing. You can do your 10 slaps around the groin. And you can also rub around the groin. You just do the whole crease of the groin, and then you're going to open up the lymphatics there too. So you can rub and slap, or you can just slap. It's up to you, okay? You may notice a lot of tenderness in there. And then these nodes take everything that's coming from the legs up and the lower abdomen up, okay? And then the last one is behind the knees. So this one you can do seated or standing. You just bend at the hips bend the knees a little bit, and then you're going to rub behind your knees on both sides, and then do your 10 slaps on your knees. And what you did there was you opened up all the areas that have the greatest block of pressure. So now everything from your foot is going to flow up, everything from your hand is going to flow up, everything from your head is going to flow down. And then usually what you want to do is to get that area moving. So I usually have people just bounce up and down on the balls of their feet for about 20 seconds, breathing in and out through their nose, not through their mouth. So it's just like a trampoline, but you don't have to leave the ground. So the ball of your foot stays down and your heels come up and down. And it's what's called a pedal pump, pedal for the foot. And then you're pumping and you're moving that fluid. And I tell people to always breathe in and out through the nose because it automatically moves the diaphragm more than breathing through your mouth. And that's the easy reset that you can do every single day. And you'll start to drain. And then if you want to pay special attention to the abdomen, then I can show you the easy one for that one. Very, very simple. You want me to show you that one?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So this is the one where if you find your belly button and then you find the bottom of your sternum. So at the bottom of your sternum, at the top of your abs, and then you have your belly button. If you draw a line, I want you to find the distance that's halfway between those two spots. And I want you to put your fingers right in there. Right? Now, it doesn't matter what you press in through here. You know, I'm showing here's a vibration ball that you can use. Some people even use like a little bit of an end of a dumbbell on there, like a small 1.5, 2 pound dumbbell. All you're going to do is just press into that region. And I want you to press in at least 1 inch to 1 inch or 3 centimeters. So I want you to go in deep and just go side to side like that and press in as deep as you can go as you're moving side to side. And when you're nice and deep, I want you to scoop your fingers up towards your neck. So just scoop up and you scoop up 5 times. That's going to open up that congested lymph right there in that region. You press in, go in as deep as you can go, then scoop up towards your neck 5 times. And I want you to go down to the belly button. And I want you to not go in your belly button, but I want you to go around your belly button. Stick your fingers in about 1 inch to 3 centimeters, as deep as you can go. And I want you to do circular spirals all around the navel, around the whole thing. And it might be very painful. It might be burning. You might actually feel like small little fat pads there. They're toxic fat pads that sit in there. And you work your way around all on either side. And you do a couple of circles around the navel, clockwise, counterclockwise, as you're pressing in. And then that will free up the congested abdominal lymph in that region. And then after that, then you would go in and say, okay, now practice your diaphragmatic breathing, your pelvic floor type exercises. And that's at least the beginning, because in the advanced work, I mean, we actually have you release the lymph nodes that are called the lumbar lymph nodes. Those go very deep along the blood flow to the pelvic floor and around the psoas muscle. And they usually get stuck right below your belly button and off to the side a little bit, but they sit pretty deep. If you're congested in your abdomen lymph region, that's going to backflow in towards the pelvic floor. And there's a high correlation they're finding between stagnant lymph in the pelvic rim and the lumbar spine in relationship to cyst, endometriosis, PCOS, things like that. So, because the body has a high amount of toxicity and poor vascularization and blood flow. So it's really, really, I just showed you guys one of the most important areas that you need to start to pay attention to in relationship to focusing on your body. And you'll probably notice a thing that's pretty cool. Most people will say their lower back tightness or stiffness or pain feels way better.
Do you
way
find
better.
too that because you said how everything can back up into the neck, that there's a big correlation between that, the lymph that's backed up in the abdomen and like chronic neck pain?
Yep, yep. So if you get, because what happened when they studied cancer more in particular, they found that if you had a vulnerable lymph node, that maybe had a metastatic to it, that one lymph node can cause an issue with the entire lymphatic system. So that's where, in my world, that's what stop chasing pain means. Pain only tells you that you have a problem. It doesn't tell you what it is or why you've got it. It's just telling you you better change something because it's not right. And in relationship to pain, your neck can hurt. So let's take that neck pain for an example, because the neck is actually part of your core, right? That if I know 1/3 of my lymph nodes are in my neck, I want to make sure that that system can drain well, so all the other systems can function at their best, right? But because everything works on pressure, from breathing and from movement, if you're backed up in the abdominal region, then you're going to have what's called a backflow of pressure in your lymph, and you can have an extreme amount of tightness in the abdominal region, which is going to cause a compensation or an adaptation in your neck, right? Because I have a lot of people who say, I'm touching the lymph nodes in their neck, and they're very surprised that the lymph nodes in their neck don't hurt. And I'm like, well, that's okay. We don't want them to hurt. That's a good thing, right? And then, but how about I check all the others? And then when I get down into the abdomen and I touch in there, they want to knock my head off because it freaking hurts. Like, it's like, oh my God. They're totally surprised that it hurts that much. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, imagine how your body has to deal with that. What is it going to do to try to protect that region? And it's going to sacrifice a lot of other different areas of the body. One can be the neck, right? So I see it all the time where people have pain in one part of their body, and then everybody treats that area, which you should, but you want to make sure you check all the other regions in relationship to controlling pressure in the body, because to me, that's what core stabilization is. Core stabilization is the ability to control pressure. That's stability, all right? And then you need to have stability in order to generate force. And so fluid flow is massive in that relationship. And it's something when you just work that one region and start to get it moving, get the sensation into the nervous system in that region, it can do a huge amount. Because it's one of the things that I tell people all the time is that I look for the areas of your body where you have that you don't know there is pain, to help the areas of pain that won't leave you alone. But that means this. Let's take your abdominal region, that you think your abdominal region's fine until you stick your fingers in there. So consciously, you had no idea that area was painful. But you actually didn't know. You only knew at a subconscious level. And then you come to determine when you study neuroscience that most of your movement is based on subconscious input anyway. It has nothing to do with conscious input. Most of it's from unconscious. So your brain is driving all of your movement to protect that abdomen, and you've got no freaking idea it's doing it. So you think that I'm controlling this because I'm thinking about it. And no, it's not. It's like they did the research. It's like 10% of your brain is devoted to voluntary movement. 90% is involuntary. That's stabilization. That's subconscious side, like that. That's really critical for people to know. So you need to find the area. This is a big tip for you guys. You need to find the area of your body that hurts that you don't know about. And that will usually help you with the area that you do know about. Right? And then one of the biggest areas, if you forget everything I've told you in this whole interview that we did, is just don't neglect the space from your sternum to your navel. It's really, really important. And just rub those 6 regions. I mean, it's so easy, because when you rub those, it's just about pressure. When you take away a blockage, the body knows exactly where it needs to send everything. it's what it does. It just needed you to help it a little bit, and then you just get out of the way. Then it'll do the rest, right? And you do that every single day. Why? Because you're exposed to toxins every single day. And you do that before you train. You do it before you do correctives, before you do exercise. And I would encourage you to do it after exercise too, because when you exercise, you create toxins, right? Because you just broke your body down and now you want to get that stuff out. So it's a boom, boom, in and out, right? Easy peasy.
Well, you know what? You gave me a lot to think about because that spot in the abdomen was excruciating for me to push into. And I wasn't completely surprised because I've been using Deanna Henson's block for like doing block therapy or like fluid isometrics. So I've been laying on like a cedar block in different body positions. And I find that over my belly button and within that abdomen is a very painful area for me. So I think I'm going to continue to do a little bit of work there and, you know, get maybe looking at some more of your work in order to assist with that, because I think, you know, well, you're definitely on to something, and I think that might be a good factor for, you know, just optimizing my performance a little bit more.
Yeah, so that's great. I love that you're doing that program. She's got some awesome stuff. And then now, you know, before you lie on the block, what do you do first?
Yeah.
You slap those 6 regions.
Yeah.
Then you lie on the block, right? Because then you're going to free up that region for it to begin to go. And it could take you a little while to clear that up, because when you get stagnant around your abdomen and your navel, that can take you several weeks to get rid of that. And you might want to expect maybe a little bit of a detoxification reaction. Sometimes that's where people, when you release a lot of toxins into the body that might have been stored, you can get tired, fatigued, lethargic. And I usually say, yeah, have you ever had a hangover? That's probably what it's going to feel like, right? And then that's okay. That's normal. Just make sure you hydrate and you continue to do your diaphragmatic breathing and stuff like that, and it'll be good. It'll be good.
Well, you know what, that was such a helpful like exercise that you took everyone through. I think it's a really great place for people to start. But like you said, it's a place to start, and there's a lot more that can be done. So I know you give so many great tips and techniques and videos on your Instagram channel. Do you want to just tell everyone, it's going to be in the show notes anyways, but where people can find you and they can start following you and seeing, you know, learning more about what you do and about such an important system in the body?
Yes, thank you very much. Well, it's easy to find. You go to stopchasingpain.com, and you can connect to all of my social media outlets. I spend most of my time, honestly, on Instagram. That's where I do most of my work. I do have a YouTube channel that's got a lot of stuff on there, and there'll be some more content coming. But I've got about 7,000 posts on Instagram. You can keep yourself busy there for a while, a lot of different videos. And then my website will branch you into webcasts that we do, videos, memberships, and I mean, there's something for everyone depending on how deep you want to go in the rabbit hole. And it's made for everyone. It's not just professionals. It's for all humans of all different types who just want to be able to live a better, healthier life, and then feel that they're empowered to do these things to themselves, because you can.
Yeah, if you're gonna sit on your phone and fall into something for an afternoon, jumping on your Instagram channel and falling into those videos, I think is a really great place to be. So thank you so much, Dr. Perry. You know, you're just a fantastic speaker. You always have so much great information to give, and really appreciate being here today.
Thank you very much. I had a really, really great time, and thank you everyone for tuning in.
Yes, thanks. Have a great day.